What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Real Rundown. This is take 3 of my intro. I'm here with Scott. What's up, Scott?
Hello. It's funny how you get 3 takes of your portion, but I only get 1 take of my portion.
That's right. I set you up. I give you the alley-oop. You got to just finish it.
And somehow I get to the finish line.
People don't know the hardest part of the podcast for me is the introduction. Because even though I pretty much say the same thing every time, I feel like it's always bad. And it's a mind game. But here we are. How are you, my friend? I feel like you haven't been on in a while, but that's not true.
I just been quite busy watching things. But no, has it been a while?
I don't think so. I think
Oh,
you were here on the 2 episodes ago. I think you were on.
I think I just skipped over 1, I think.
How was your mom's birthday? I know that was the occasion that you missed last week.
Very good. I'm very surprised this is a hot topic. I'm like when I got a message that you brought it up, I'm like, okay.
Well, it's not
How
a
is
hot
it?
topic. We care about what's going on in people's lives. And when you mentioned that you weren't able to make the podcast because your mom's birthday,
Yes.
we felt the need to just give her a quick shout out.
And I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I put family affairs first, even though I do enjoy doing the podcast, but I will not live it down if I was to miss out on that and to join um, an episode. But I certainly checked in to make sure we were talking about some very important things in my absence.
Yeah, I think so. The episode did really well. But this week I was particularly excited because it's SNL50. I wanted to do an episode immediately after the weekend, just because it's still a hot topic. So we'll cover SNL50, and then we'll do just a quick take on White Lotus, which premiered this past Sunday, last night. And I just watched it like an hour ago. So thankfully, I'm thankful that this was a holiday Monday too. Let's go right into SNL50. Do you want to talk about the musical portion that aired Friday? I ended up seeing that Saturday.
But of course, I think the most exciting part of it was actually I rarely watch things live straight through, but I didn't have a choice because there's no way to record something on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
So just as context, there was a concert at Radio City Music Hall for SNL50. They called it the Homecoming Concert. And what was fun about it is that there were so many celebrities in the audience that they were all just rocking out, living their earliest young years. Even when the Backstreet Boys were performing,
Yeah.
one of the Backstreet Boys, even though it was like them walking through the audience to rehearsed, the one person that was picked out to sing the Backstreet Boys
Jerry Seinfeld.
was Jerry Seinfeld, and he knew all the words. I think he was, going his mind going, did he really just come up with me to sing? Because he's really like to excuse himself, but he knew all the words
He knew the words yeah.
for that portion of the song.
I don't want to say that was planned or rehearsed. I want to feel like that was a genuine moment.
Well,
and I think it was.
Going up to him was not rehearsed, but if you want, not to give away the secrets, but
give it away.
If you watch the end credits, you see there's a moment that they showed from the rehearsal of him going up to someone in the audience and that exact moment in the song. So,
I see. So it happened to be Jerry, but it could have been anybody, Ted Danson, for example.
He just went up to anyone that he was going to put them on the spot.
Okay. That was a really cool moment. I think, and I was, so I had no expectations for the show. I had, I watch SNL. I don't usually watch it live, but I'll watch it Sunday, and throughout the week I'll watch the clips on YouTube. In particular, Weekend Update is also always a must for me. But this show wasn't really on my radar. I ended up watching it Saturday morning, I think, or Saturday night, and then Sunday morning. But it was stacked with talent that I was not expecting. Like, I think Snoop was there, if I'm not mistaken. Eddie Vedder, Nirvana, Paul Simon, I believe, was there. And I might confuse these with the actual
Well,
show, but I'm pretty.
Paul, Paul Simon didn't perform,
He
but
performed on the show on
Sunday.
Sunday.
So there
Okay,
was
so
kind
yeah,
of
I'm confusing a little bit.
there was this kind of this balance of, all right, who is going to perform at the Friday night show, because they don't want to have everyone perform at the Friday night show because they got to save something for the big 50th anniversary show that was on Sunday night. So you really didn't know. So Lady Gaga performed on the Friday night show. Cher,
She
um,
was excellent.
now they did announce these headliners, but I completely kept myself in the dark
Run
for a
through
reason.
run through a list of like just five. You don't have. We don't need to go through all of them. I just want to give
No.
people an idea of how of the level of A-list
Oh,
talent that was there.
I wouldn't even remember it if there were so many. Lauren Hill was a surprise. Jack White,
Yep.
Miley Cyrus,
Yep.
Lady Gaga sang "Dick in a Box"
That's right.
with
Yeah, they did the
Andy
whole Andy
Samberg.
Sandberg, a bunch of their songs.
Mhm.
David Byrne, Robin, again Nirvana performed with Post Malone, filling in for Kurt Cobain.
Brandi Carlile, Mumford and Sons, Bonnie Raitt, and Chris Martin sang "I Can't Make You Love Me," her song. But
Mumford and Sons killed. They brought the house down too.
But the funny part is that not only did they have these big headliners, they also had past cast members of Saturday Night Live do their own musical skits.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, Tracy Morgan did one,
Yes,
and Bill Murray did one as well. And then
yes.
the Lonely Island Boys did a few of their songs, which was great. Um, so it was really, really impressive. I think that show might go down in history as one of the best live concerts on television. You know, it's definitely top 5 in my opinion. I can't really think of too many bigger shows, to be honest. Like my expectations were very low going into it, and I was blown away by just the level of talent. And then the camera pans through the audience, and then just like A-list musicians and actors. It's crazy. It was stacked. But that was just a setup for the main show, SNL50 on Sunday night. So that was, I didn't know the format, but it was basically an episode of SNL stretched to 3 hours, and pretty much the same format. You have the cold open, you have a monologue, you have a few sketches, you have an extended weekend update, followed by uh, actually before the weekend update, there's a musical performance, and then there's a second musical performance at the second half of the show, followed by several sketches, and then the closing. So they kept the same format. It was just so bigger. And I think the expectation for these was, you know, you want to capture, they needed to capture the, I guess, significance of the milestone being 50 years. You wanted to obviously pay respect for everybody who made that possible, from writers to previous cast members, musicians, and hosts, and you wanted it to be funny. And I think they knocked it out in every aspect.
Well, this was I would say, a larger show than what was done for the 40th anniversary. So
Oh yeah.
they did a identical show for the 40th anniversary, but this was the big show for the 50th.
But do you think they hit on all 3 of those points?
Yes, I think you didn't realize what was going to happen because they started the show with just having select past cast members do act as a host for certain sections, but you never knew who was going to be in any skit. And it came to be that you could tell during the show there were sometimes they didn't know that if Will Ferrell was going to be in it, or Eddie Murphy, that you didn't
Yeah.
really know completely what was going to happen.
Well,
But
yeah, that's the
they
idea.
would more
You don't know what's going to happen.
particularly, there was a moment where they did this skit where it was Eddie Murphy and Kenan Thompson that were both playing these fugitives, and all of a sudden they're both yelling at the current cast members.
Oh,
Like,
you're talking about the prison. The three kids get
yes,
arrested, and then these guys are like the we keep it because this here is real.
right.
It's a reoccurring character with Keenan Thompson and Morgan, Tracy Morgan, and I know Eddie Murphy has done
Oh,
that
wait,
in the past too.
yes, that's. I think you're talking about Black Jeopardy, right?
No, I'm
No,
talking
no.
about the one where
Oh
two
yeah, yeah,
prison guys
yeah.
come talk
Yes.
real shit to the kids to straighten the kids out.
So then all of a sudden, Will Ferrell comes out with these very high shorts. And the moment Keenan, and you could tell, the moment Keenan saw that, he just started breaking and just started laughing as if he didn't
Yeah.
expect that to happen. And then all of a sudden, then they start quoting their characters in the movies they've done. Like all of a sudden, Will Ferrell starts making references to Alf, and then
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy starts making his own references to movies he's done.
Hold on, let me ask you, have you not seen that sketch? That's a recurring sketch that Keenan used to do for years.
Oh no! Oh, I completely know that, but
Okay.
no, I'm saying the way it was played out to a whole nother level.
Yeah, so they did that with several sketches. They did pretty much um, all of these classic sketches that with a little bit of a twist. I think that was the theme for the whole show. Even
Yes.
like Weekend Update, there's a little bit of a twist on the on the on the sketch. They did do Black Jeopardy, which was fantastic, where Tom Hanks came back as what's his name, Bruce, where he's like the MAGA guy that has like a love-hate relationship with the contestants on the show. Yeah, the same thing with the Scared Straight sketch with Keenan Thompson, Eddie Murphy, with Will Ferrell comes in just to spice it up. I thought it all worked. The only one that was a bit of a drag for me was the Debbie Downer sketch, but I've never been a fan of the Debbie Downer character. Even so, in this one, they included Robert De Niro in the sketch. It was all right. What was your favorite moment?
My favorite moment? Well, I thought that the skit with Meryl Streep in it, which was a surprise with Kate McKinnon playing the chain smoker,
Oh
a
yeah, it's
woman
like,
abducted by aliens,
yeah,
which
and
was
they like
funny.
sexually abuse her.
And it just kept on going and going and going. And then you notice when Meryl Streep came in, her pants went even higher.
Yeah,
Kate McKinnon's pants went up even higher. That's like, I'm gonna play this even more.
yeah. I think she gave that sketch a whole new level of life because it wasn't. I've never been a fan of that sketch. The first one was fantastic. The ones that followed weren't so great, but I think Meryl Streep really gave it a bump here. She did great.
And then I thought Adam Sandler did a very good song. It felt like he wrote himself,
Oh yeah, he did.
doing a dedication to those past moments, acknowledging that they didn't get everything right.
Hmm. Yeah, I liked his song too. It was a little bit somber, celebratory, little nostalgic, but I liked it. My favorite moment, my favorite bit, I guess, was the Q&A session with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, where they just kind of like point into the crowd and they get questions from all the celebrities in attendance.
Yes.
And I felt like pretty much all of them made me laugh out loud. In particular, um, oh my God, now, I'm horrible with names. I'm so bad with names, but I'm great with faces. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There was a bit about her being there with a guide dog, and she's like, "No, I'm actually
Here
his
for the
guide
dirt.
because the dog is blind." I thought that was such a great little twist on that
Yes.
setup. But they're all really good, all really good. I loved it. Low point for me was probably the Lil Wayne performance. It didn't. Lil Wayne was not at his best for that. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but I felt like he wasn't great for that.
I'm not a fan of Lil Wayne either. I knew a few of the songs, which was I thought the Roots sounded great, so that carried it through. But I was not too into the Lil Wayne portion. Maybe if I listened to the music instrumentally without Lil Wayne, and they would have cranked up the beats more, I think it would have been more entertaining. Sorry, Lil Wayne. Um, I also think that
By the way, it's Lil Wayne.
I can care a little. Then also the digital short anxiety uh,
Yeah,
segment. I thought that was
man.
good, but I thought it went on for too long.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Um, Andy Sandberg is great. I don't love all his digital short sketches. He's very hit or miss for me. More so a miss usually, but I love him in sketches and I love him in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But the musical stuff doesn't always land for me.
It yes, it just feels like it goes on for too long. It goes on too long for me.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the monologue with Steve Martin.
Yes,
That guy he always looks good. He seems so sharp still. His comedic timing and everything is just always on point. Um, and him and who's this partner, Martin Short,
yes,
just excellent together. The joke where Ice comes out and pulls Martin Short off stage is just so good, and he's like screaming in the background. He's like
yes.
yelling things. I'll name names, and then he names a bunch of Canadian comedians too. It's so good, man. So I'm so happy that those two guys are at their late stage, just having like an immense new career and being remaining relevant and successful.
But
Um,
what about the John Mulaney's New York's 50th musical?
I thought that was pretty good. I thought I went back and I not because of this or unrelated to this, but I watched all of John Mulaney's musical pieces that he's done recently over the years. The first one is still the best. The New York Bodega one is still good. I thought this one was up there. I thought it was up there. Really good.
I got very excited when Keenan reprised his role as the lobster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he killed it. That was the first sketch, Les Miserables,
Yes,
where um where Pete what's his name? Pete from SNL. What's his
Pete
Pete
Davidson.
Davidson.
Yes,
He goes to a diner and orders the lobster and triggers the musical.
yes.
Go watch that
I
that
liked
sketch
how
if you haven't seen
I
it.
liked how they went, "Where'd David Spade go?" He goes, you know what?
He's like, I get
I got it.
it.
I got what I got out of it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
There was
I got all I needed.
there was another moment. I didn't love that. I thought I loved it in the instance, but when Will Ferrell did the same thing in his sketch, with Keenan and Eddie Murphy, where he's like, he just goes, I'm talking about Elf on the movie's Elf. So they just
Yes,
skipped the whole build up toward it. Um, I don't love when they break like that,
I
but
do. I like it.
you like that?
Yes.
It paid off. And I thought because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, where'd David Spade go? Um, but yeah, I liked John Mulaney's. I like his musical numbers. The money they spend or I don't know if they spend money, but the sets they build for those are so elaborate, and the costumes and everything is really impressive. And if you watch the documentaries on SNL, they talk about the process for how those things come about. There's a whole team that works internal on makeup, design, staging, everything. So it's all really impressive. I loved the whole thing. Weekend Update was phenomenal. They even brought back um, Seth Meyers as host, so it's really good. The one thing that in the moment when I was watching, I didn't really like it. So there's an old sketch with Maya Rudolph and Amy Poehler called The Bronx Beat. Was basically like two Bronx housewives just gossiping about what's happening in the neighborhood, which is kind of a ripoff of Michael Myers' Coffee Talk, which is more of like a Long Island kind of
Yes.
housewife. And
Yeah.
I was like, my thinking was, why are they doing the Bronx Beat? They should have just done Coffee Talk with Michael Myers, but I guess they couldn't get Michael Myers. And then he makes an appearance, and I just love that moment. I just loved it.
Yes. Well, I love, you know, both skits. I just like that they combine them together.
Yeah.
And
There's
they
a
just,
lot of worlds colliding.
yes. A lot of worlds colliding, but also, different generations on the show.
Yeah.
A- And no matter what, they're able to riff as if they were doing this every week because they were completely involved in it. Uh, I think the great start of it was with Will Ferrell playing Robert Goulet, which, the
Right.
even funny part is that if you say Robert Goulet, you go, who is that? Of course, Robert Goulet, is the singer of course, Jimmy Kimmel Live, of his talk show, but Will Ferrell reprised his role, and then they did a kind of a combined where Anna Gasteyer, Kim Kardashian, Scarlett Johansson, and then all of a sudden Christian Wig comes in with her
Her
character.
character. Yeah. I don't know if that character has a name, but it's basically like the Lawrence Welk show where Fred Armisen introduces the singers or the
Yes,
sisters, and then she's one of the sisters.
she's
I
like
don't.
I think her name is Dunesi or Dunes. It's Doonese,
Oh yeah, she does
and
have a
her
name
and her tiny hands.
and huge forehead.
Yes, and he just goes forehead,
Yeah.
forehead.
So again, that goes to the sort of like worlds colliding point where you have these two characters from different generations in the same sketch. Um, and it just works, man. The way they did it was so smart. And to get all these folks to just come in and cooperate and work together and do it live was really, really impressive. And even I was surprised that Chevy Chase, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised, but that he made it because he's notoriously difficult to work with. He's he's not well liked by any of his coworkers or colleagues on shows. So it was good to see him. And I think he shook Jimmy Fallon's hand at one point. I don't think he was involved in any of the sketches or anything else, though, right? Just that one moment where he got mentioned.
Right, but you know what? No matter what, if you're a legend, you put all of that disagreement aside because if you were so monumental of creating such an institution, you put all that aside. You
You should, yeah.
uh Speaking of surprises, the biggest surprise I think was Jack Nicholson making an appearance introducing Adam Sandler, which
Right.
Jack Nicholson has been completely off everyone's radar. Even when he goes to a sporting event, you just see him rarely. You
Yeah.
haven't heard him talk, even though it looked like his daughter had to cue him. But still, he did come with his sunglasses to make an appearance, to be a spectator of the show and also participate in the show in a
Yeah,
certain
I
way.
think those little touches, like there's like one soundbite from Ray Romano, for one soundbite, but those little touches really make it uh just that much more polished of a show. And I think it elevates what SNL is and what it means culturally to have all these people from different kind of backgrounds, generation, especially all these people from different generations um, on the stage and in the audience at one time. It really signifies like the history of the show, the relevancy of the show over the years, and just the impact that it's had, um, not just for people who watch it, but musicians and hosts who then remain friends or close to the show, even that we don't know about, right? But they have these long-term relationships either with Lorne Michaels or with certain cast members, and they're always part of the SNL family. If they're in New York that weekend, maybe they'll do come on and just do like one sketch. You see that a lot. Like, oh, how's this guy? Why is, you know, Maya Rudolph in doing this one sketch? Well, she just probably happened to be in town and they called her up to hang out, and it turns out that they had this perfect role for her. A lot of that stuff happens behind the scenes, and I think it's just a tribute to the community that is like SNL, and it's huge. Like, they have so many fans in Hollywood that wanted to show up for this event.
Although, but you mentioned Hollywood, but a lot of these people are New York based, so
Right.
they're not everyone needs to fly in from other
Well,
parts of the country. But I do think that for this occasion, I think it's very important to have as many people involved, which just shows the professionalism and how many people they're able to be part of the show and
right.
have little to no technical issues as putting together a 3.5+ hour show, even though I think it went on longer than it was anticipated.
It
But I
did.
do, I do think that within a regular episode, minus this, too much is reliant on having a reoccurring guest appearance from at least one or two celebrities that are not the host. I think it takes away from the glamour and the attention from the person who's acting as the host and also as the musical guest. If you randomly have like a past cast member appear on the show, because you do have a cast of people that are
Yeah.
regulars. So it kind of feels like if I was a regular on the show, I'd be like, "Why are you bringing in? I want to get airtime. I'm on this show. Why are you bringing in these people instead
Yeah, I think that's
to
to the
do
point
recurring
where
characters?"
I think to the point what I said before. I think all these guys are friends, and if someone is in town, maybe having dinner, they're like, "Hey, why don't you? We have this sketch that might make sense for you to just pop in, and the crowd would love it." And they're kind of in and out in like 5 minutes. Or if it's like, we have this one politician that was on the news, and you might be good just to do an impression of him once. Like, we're never going to use this guy again. Situational things like that. I think it's a nice surprise for viewers. Um, and I think if you're a cast member, like, you just got to deal with it, because usually it's either like a celebrity that has relationships and connections to the show, or it's a past cast member that's still close to a lot of the people that run the show. So I'm okay with that. It's often just like a nice surprise. We're gonna talk about White Lotus before I move on. I just want to say, Drunk Uncle came back during the weekend update, and he was like top. He was like on top of his game. Um, that's Bobby Moynihan playing Drunk Uncle. He was on point.
There were a few people that I was, disappointed. I was disappointed that Horatio Sands didn't appear on the show because he was very funny.
You like Horatio Sands?
I
Okay,
do, but I was
Horatio
like,
Sands fan.
yes,
Okay, yeah, you're right. He wasn't. Neither was Colin Quinn. He did get a shout out,
yes.
quite modestly, I
Mhm.
guess, but he was also not in attendance. Um, there was this guy who I really like who's not in attendance. His name is like Taron Killam. You know Taron Killam? He's like a super tall dude. I don't know what he's up to. He was with like Jason
Yes.
Sudeikis and those guys, Bill Hader. He was that cast.
I noticed him too. He did not make an appearance,
He did not make an appearance.
but he also wasn't on the show that long either as a cast member.
Okay, he made an impression on me. I always
No,
thought he was
it's
funny. Um, but yeah, and I noticed his absence. But beyond that, I thought, I didn't really miss anybody. I thought, I don't know. I thought it was great. I wasn't really looking for anybody outside of that.
I was it was great to see that Molly Shannon did her Sally O'Malley.
Yeah, that was a nice comeback.
Hmm.
Yeah, to bring that character. And Emma Stone was like so good, and they timed their little outro like perfectly.
Hmm. But I think we need to make sure we mention that Bad Bunny was on. He was, and also he was on. Made a big uh, did a big performance on the Friday show as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he did great performance on the Friday show, and he had a nice little comedic moment in one of the segments.
And
Um,
then Sabrina Carpenter was also made a lot of appearances on this show.
yeah, well, she opened the show with the
Yes,
music. Um,
with Paul Simon, which was funny that they made a joke that, that she was not alive and neither was her parents alive when Paul
with the
Simon had the song when he
yeah,
performed when he was on the show originally.
yeah, and his comeback was, and now they get to hear it. And I think that just speaks to, and she was like, actually, yeah, you're right. That just speaks to like how big of a moment that they're letting her be a part of. Um, and I understand obviously she's very, very famous right now, but maybe she won't be in 2 or 3 or 5 years. And someone like Paul Simon has been famous for a very long time. So it was a great opportunity for her to be part of that song. I think those kind of artists, contemporary artists, I think they want to follow in the footsteps, I think, of like a Miley Cyrus who can come on and just has, number one, she has a vocal range to be on stage with anybody, but you can tell like the industry respects the hell out of her. And she does a lot of songs like this, like covers, and works with past artists, works with new young artists. So she's in a great place. And I think Sabrina Carpenter doing a set with Paul Simon is a real milestone for her career. But yeah, I love the show. I'm gonna rewatch it. And I know I'm definitely gonna watch, like, I'm gonna put the concert on in the background as I'm like doing chores around the house and
Uh-uh,
stuff.
uh-uh. You need to watch the concert. You need to take it full and fully. If
I've
you're
done it.
you watched okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, I've watched the concert, but
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna watch it. It's one of those things where I'll just put it on
Okay.
because it's that good.
It's the
Um,
long. I have to say, it's the longest amount of time I've actually watched something on Peacock.
yeah, same. And I don't know if they're scheduled to come back on the air this Saturday.
March. No, they can't. No, they're not going to be doing a whole show this week after that whole thing, and they need a break. No, they're
Okay,
coming. No, they're coming back in March.
okay.
No,
Yeah, because I was gonna say if they're gonna do a show Saturday, number one, I would check it just to see like all the jokes and all the commentary that they'd have
no,
on
no,
the
no, no,
50.
no,
That
no.
would be great.
If they're able
Okay.
to make me laugh the amount I did while watching, that was probably I did more laughing in the 3.5 hours and Saturday Night Live than I did in the past 4 years of watching the past 4 seasons of SNL,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
doesn't say
yeah.
very much, but they need to do this kind of comedy every Saturday night that they have a new show.
Yeah, it's tough to do it every week in and week out, but yeah, recent years haven't been so great.
Mhm.
Okay, any final thoughts before we move on to White Lotus?
Even if you haven't watched, even if you don't watch SNL, you should still watch the SNL50 because it's funny even without being a continuous watcher of seeing it in the past. It's still with a first glance, it's still very funny.
Okay, you almost lost me there for a sec. I didn't know where you were going with that, but you're saying it's good. People should watch it.
Yes, you don't need to feel like I'm only going to watch it because I've watched past seasons and gotten to know the characters that are continuously done. You can
Right.
still watch it with fresh eyes for the first time because you know all the people. You're very you. Everyone is very familiar of people who have started their career on SNL, and now you
Yeah.
can see them in their prime where they started out.
It's a cultural moment. You want to be a part of it. It's a great show. Let's move on to White Lotus, another cultural moment that's going to be on everyone's mind for the next couple of weeks. I think they're doing 8 episodes. This is season 3, episode 22 of the show. If you don't know White Lotus, it's kind of like a murder mystery kind of show with complex characters. There's obviously much more to the aspect of who done it, but that's sort of like the hook for the series, and each one it's done in a different White Lotus hotel resort. It's a high-end luxury resort. The first episode was in Maui, I believe. Last season was that Naples? No, or was in Sicily? I forget. I think it was in Sicily.
I think it was Sicily.
Yeah, and this season is in Thailand. Just quick fire. What was your just initial thoughts on the show?
I thought very quickly, I felt like I was on vacation.
The show has that effect.
Yes, even though I look outside and I'm like, it looks like a cold tundra. So it was nice. I felt very like I was in a warm place until I heard gunshots, and I'm like, okay. Oh yeah, I
This
forgot.
is the show.
I forgot. Someone dies, and the whole thing is revolves around that. We're not giving it away here. The whole thing is,
That yeah.
you're in a moment, and then like, okay, now we're gonna go back a week, and now we're gonna see how we got to this point.
Yeah, I love it. I think this season is going to be 8 episodes. Quick shout out to the opening song. It's a song by a band. I had to look it up. It's called Made in Thailand by a band called Carabao from Thailand. That song is banging. I love that song, and that was a great way to get me into the show. So that's right at the top after the cold open.
You got to see if it's on. Is it on Spotify?
Of course, yeah.
How many plays has it gotten already from you?
Just one to confirm that was the actual song, but the band
Now,
gets.
did you play it through to the end so they get the play?
No. I just
Okay.
want to make sure, like when that happens, I just want to make sure I sort of tag it and save it for later because
Got it.
I do
Okay.
that quite a bit.
All right. Hopefully, they earn that full play from you.
Oh, they will. Yeah, I'm gonna have those guys
the
playing.
full stream. No, it sounded like a song that it was a real song. It didn't seem like it was something that was done for the show. Yeah, it was.
No, it's a real band.
Yes, it sounded like it.
And it appears to be quite popular. They get a lot of plays per month.
Well,
And yeah,
they're gonna get millions more.
they're gonna get millions more now because that
Yes.
song is really it's that good.
Yes.
So in this episode, we kind of meet 3 character groups to start. We meet the Ratcliffe family who's on vacation. There's like a friends group who are 3 friends. I'd say,
but not old friends. They're not
old friends. They're not old friends. They're good friends reconnecting. They're these women in their 40s. I want to say. I want to be kind.
They've been friends for a long time.
They've been friends for a long time.
Yes.
And then you have this couple, older guy, younger woman. And yeah, they're they don't seem to get along at all.
Well, it seemed like they were, it automatically one seemed like the popular one, and they always were making those references, and then one automatically started,
Well, I mean the couple, with the younger girl with the older dude.
Oh yes.
So those are the 3 played by Walter Goggins, who's been in a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He plays Rick, and then his girlfriend is Chelsea. So those are the 3 basically character groups that we meet. And then you have Belinda, who is from season 1. Was she in season 2? I don't think she was in season 2.
I'm not sure.
So that's basically our 3 character groups. I think so. Let's focus quickly on the Ratcliffe family. So this is like a very wealthy family from North Carolina, I believe. They've come to this trip because their daughter is a Buddhist and she wants to study and interview a Buddhist monk in a temple nearby. So they took this vacation for that purpose. It's a bit of a stretch, so there's probably more to that. And the dad is obviously a very rich business person. The mom is kind of on prescription drugs the whole time, and a little bit drowsy, happy kind of vibes there. And then the three kids are kind of a little off-putting.
I think they're all. I think that whole family is off-putting.
That's a good point.
Let's be honest here. The husband is constantly making these looks and constantly getting these phone calls that there's something stirring at home. The son works with the father, and
The older son, yep.
the son's constantly that's paid by Patrick Schwarzenegger, who is constantly asking his father what's happening, and then the father never responds. And the they're at the White Lotus Resort because of the daughter,
Yep. Who's a
who
Buddhist,
is
apparently.
or thinks she is.
Yeah. And then you have the middle child. And what did you think of the kids' names? I'm going to give you guys the kids' names. The oldest kid, who's about 30 or 20 something years old, is named Saxon. And then the girl is Piper. And the middle child is Lachlan. They call him Lockie. What do you think of these names? You know any Lockies? How many
No.
Pipers have you met? Is there
Not.
like after a certain net worth, you
I
just
don't
have
know.
to come up with these names for your children?
I don't know. I usually like one syllable, or two syllable. I don't. It's too many vowels.
Yeah,
There's
strange names for the kids.
there's too many vowels. Not my first choices if I had to pick a name, or I would never heard of them. But I'm it's a judge free zone in that point.
Okay, respect.
I think there's plenty of other things that we can judge. Probably not the names would be the first thing.
Okay,
But
yeah, certainly the behavior when he's like sleeping with his little brother and he's like, hey, now that you're here, where am I going to masturbate? Oh, I'll just go naked into the bathroom. That's a scene in the show. Check it out.
hold on. Yeah, that's a scene in the show. It stops after it's the discussion is where it ended. So let's make it clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the rest is up to your imagination.
Yes, I wanted to make sure. That was clear.
So the story with the family is the dad starts getting calls from a reporter in the Washington Post questioning his a recent business venture that he was associated with, Shell Khan, I think, or something like that, Shell Cal, something like that. And one of his business partners is being investigated, former business partners.
But I think we should not go too far into it because I think the interesting part of the show is seeing things unravel because it's where it's going to go as a surprise because you don't
Always.
Whenever there's someone looking around, looking up, looking down, you don't know if that's going to be the person that's going to be guilty or the person that's the target. You have no idea because the way it's just shot and the way it plays out. But what you mentioned about Belinda, Belinda is actually a character that was on season 1.
Yeah.
She managed the resort spa at the White Lotus Resort in Maui, which now I thought she looked familiar. I didn't get the connection, nor does the character mention
they don't
about being on previously or that she works at another resort. That's a
well,
White Lotus Resort.
Yeah, I think the show kind of expects viewers to recognize her. As soon as I saw her in the trailer, I kind of knew, okay, they're bringing her back. And then, yeah, she's basically at this location on some kind of training course or something. So she's going to be there for a couple of days, and she says that her son is going to be coming. And we see her like getting adapted to the environment. From like looking at the Buddhist statues to seeing lizards and monkeys and things of that nature. And then the next group is the Friends group. The lead in that is, what's her name? Michelle Moynihan. So she basically plays like a famous actress. And from we understand, she brought her 2 friends from childhood on this trip. And she's like extremely humble about her wealth. So we learned that she's paying for the entire trip and she's very happy to meet her friends. I don't know, maybe she's running away from something. Maybe, we don't know the reason that these girls all got together. But they're very all complimentary and super nice to one another. And you can tell something's definitely afoot, that something is going to go south pretty quickly. One of the three women, Lori, eventually, they're all kind of celebrating each other's life. Like, you did so great here, you did so great there. And Lori's character kind of, she goes into her bedroom and starts weeping a bit. So we don't know, what is happening there. But what do you think happened there, Scott?
Well, it felt like she assumed that they were eating it at the restaurant, and I think she thought that it was the end of the evening. But then she looks out her window and sees that the other two friends are still together talking.
Yeah.
So she kind of felt like, why am I being left out of this? But also, she didn't want to walk back because she already left, so that she didn't want to walk back
Wait, what?
and go like, "Oh, we're not done. I just saw out my window. I was spying on you two, and you're still." I think she feels like she's less of a friend in the group of three.
Yeah, I think so. They were all having like some wine and talking about their personal successes. And then when it got to her turn, they were just like, "Oh, you have such a cool daughter and you work so hard." And I think she just felt like she had not achieved as much as the other two. And she began to feel bad about that. And obviously, there's more going on because something that happened there made her kind of want to leave the table and break down and cry when she got into her room. So we'll have to wait and explore what that is. But it's a very interesting dynamic between the three of them. It feels a little forced. It feels a little phony. So I'm curious why they're on vacation together. They didn't really explain that just yet.
You use the word vacation, but I don't think everyone in the groups are actually using it as a vacation.
No, I'm talking about them three
Oh, I know.
specifically.
I
Yeah,
mean, there it's basically a vacation, but for some, they're using it as an escape from something that they left at home.
yeah. And so the next group is this couple that we meet, Rick Hatchett and his much, much younger girlfriend. I think she's the girlfriend. They're at least sleeping together, she implies. Chelsea. Immediately, this guy's up to no good. He gives the hotel owner like a kind of a look, and she gives him a look, and I'm like, something's gonna be up here. And the show does not let me wonder that for very long, because it immediately goes to, "Hi, where's your husband? Oh, he's not here. Oh, you just fucked my whole trip up." Which is like, okay, so he has a very specific motivation. He's here to see the hotel owner's husband for something. I don't know if he's a hitman or if he's involved in some kind of drug trade or something. The girlfriend mentions that they had gone to Costa Rica and Mexico and Bali. And me thinking about those three countries are like, yes, this guy could definitely be doing some kind of drug, like illegal activities in those places. I'm not sure what role the girlfriend plays in that. We don't know much about their relationship. But I like her. She seems smart, and dealing with his grumpiness, telling him to get a facial because he looks old, telling him to take a class to, relieve so much stress. They are in a wellness resort, so that makes sense. But I do like their dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually more into this third season. I don't know, because I've seen the other two, so then you're buying into this season because you get the whole concept even
Yep.
more. This, just to remind everyone that Max, it's on HBO, but it's also available on Max. But a new episode premieres every week. They're not going to load them all up for you to watch and binge watch.
Hold on. You're getting to like the end.
Oh, no. I'm saying that this is the thing that.
Yeah, we'll let them know.
you have to do it. You're not going we're only talking about one episode because that's all that's going to be that's all that is available, and that's what's going to be available every single week.
Correct. Um, do you have any favorite characters? I know it's very early, but anybody stand out to you? There is a reveal close to the end. Um, yeah, before you give me that answer, let me just mention this quick reveal. So Chelsea, her character is at the bar, and she meets this other person who is getting a drink at the bar. They begin talking, and it's revealed that this woman's, I think, boyfriend is Greg from season 2. So in season 2, Greg was the one that stole all of Tanya's money. So now we see him here. We don't know if he's hiding out, if he's just on vacation balling out. Apparently he's been in Thailand for a year, but that's a little thread. So we have Greg from season 2, have Belinda from season 1. And I think Greg might have been in season 1 as well, if I'm not mistaken. So not sure what's going to happen there. That's just like one more thread to add to all of this. Any specific areas, characters of the show you're interested in?
I think I need to see more to pick a favorite character, because the first episode was more focused on the family. It did touch on the other
Yeah.
two groups, but there wasn't enough on the other two groups
Yeah,
to
you're
be
right.
able to see a full picture of it.
Yeah, and I think the family's very interesting because there's a lot there. We have 5 characters within that.
Yes.
I'm very curious about Piper,
Yes.
the Buddhist, because she did have a chance. She asked, her brother to accompany her to the temple, and then when they got outside, she, for some reason, decided she didn't feel comfortable going in. So I'm curious about where her story is going. And Saxon is just a weirdo dude. Not sure what's going to happen with him. But yeah, I guess to your point, there's a lot going on. It's hard to just focus on one dynamic because it's also interesting. Do you have any theories of, what led to the opening gunshots? There's a lot of alluding to death in the first episode. A couple of characters have said, "I would rather die than do X." Um, we were introduced to a poisonous fruit by one of the people who works at the resort. So there's a lot of foreshadowing going on, but it's still too early to really know anything. And I'm trying to avoid the like next time on that comes on after the episodes because they reveal a little bit too much.
Or it's edited in a way that makes you think something that it really is not.
Absolutely.
So you can't they purposely are editing it in a way that you're going to try to read into it.
Yeah. And so and that just makes me want to see more, but also like wishing that I hadn't seen that. I don't really have any theories. It's very difficult. I think that the Ratcliffe, the father, I think he's under a lot of pressure, and he's probably going to either go to jail or lose his fortune ultimately. I think that's kind of obvious, though. I think that Chelsea is going to be more than a girlfriend to Rick. I think their relationship there's probably more to that. I don't know if she knows about his lifestyle. It seems like she doesn't. All she knows is that sometimes he works, but I don't know what that really implies to her. And I'm curious to see like what's with the temple, what's with the monk, um, and what is she really here for?
I think it didn't help that when she went to the monk town, that you look up and right in it is a cell phone tower. So I think it might have just, not to, no pun intended, killed the whole monk mentality and feel of being introduced to it, that yes, there's monks, but all the way, by the way, there's also civilization, also part of it, that is it's not supposed to be connected really in that type of lifestyle.
You think that dissuade her?
Well, the moment they showed that, it sort of, you just felt this, like, this turn
Yeah.
of her mindset in the moment.
And her brother literally turned around and say, "Well, if you're not going in, I'm going back to the pool."
Yeah, I'm good. You're in a foreign country. If you just want to hang out here a little while, I'll walk back by myself. All right, bye. Who
Yeah.
cares about the buddy system?
Um, we'll leave it there. Scott, where can people watch it?
Great question. I'll do a follow-up. You can watch the season 3 of White Lotus on Max, stream on Max, and also available on HBO, probably on a loop every single day possible.
Yeah.
New episodes premiere on Sunday
Sunday?
nights at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, very good. All right, there you have it. Check out the White Lotus. We may or may not talk about it further. Maybe we'll come back at some point during the season finale. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.